Hello, and thanks for checking out Chemistry Connections on the Hopewell Valley Student Podcasting Network, a proud partner of hvspn.com, where students come together to publish content to share with the world. The opinions represented within this episode are those of the content creators only. Please enjoy the show.
Welcome to Chemistry Connections. My name is Matthew Nguyen, and I am your host for episode 15 called Fumes to Fresh Air. Today I will be discussing the chemistry behind catalytic converters. To begin, I'll first dive into what specifically a catalytic converter is and what its function is for those who don't know. A catalytic converter essentially filters out harmful emissions released by a vehicle. It is a small metal box lying under the car between the engine and the muffler that has a ceramic honeycomb interior composed of precious metals like platinum, rhodium, and palladium. These elements are so important within a converter because they can filter out 98% of harmful emissions like nitrogen oxide, carbon monoxide, and hydrocarbons and turn them into harmless gases like carbon dioxide and nitrogen, which are frequently found in the air we breathe. Since these metals are also really valuable, they make the converter one of the most frequently stolen items in a car. We'll come back to that idea later. Let's pause here and talk about some of the chemistry at work. Surprisingly, catalytic converters have a lot of chemical processes. So when a car combusts in the presence of oxygen and gasoline, it releases nitrogen gas as a harmless byproduct. However, when it bonds to oxygen, it creates nitrogen oxides, which are extremely harmful to the environment. If these nitrogen oxides are not properly filtered out, it can create smog or even acid rain, which is really detrimental to the environment. That's the true function of the catalytic converter, which filters out these harmful nitrogen oxides. And a fun fact about these catalytic converters is that only 4 to 9 grams of the valuable metals mentioned previously are used in a single converter, which is really interesting since a small amount can filter a lot of harmful fumes. So what makes these metals so special from others? Well, they're called noble metals, and they're good at resisting oxidation, corrosion, and acid, allowing them to withstand all the chemicals released by an engine. Furthermore, these metals function as a catalyst within a catalytic converter, so they essentially reduce the activation energy needed for a reaction to occur, allowing it to proceed at a faster rate. And the honeycomb structure within a converter allows for a large amount of surface area so that multiple reactions can occur rapidly and efficiently. Redox reactions also occur simultaneously within a converter. For those who don't know, a redox reaction is both an oxidation and reduction reaction. In an oxidation reaction, electrons are lost, whereas in a reduction reaction, electrons are gained. Each metal in a catalytic converter is responsible for either oxidizing or reducing carbon or nitrogen. For example, the first stage of the reaction involves platinum and rhodium, which both take part in reduction reactions that reduce nitrogen oxides in the exhaust. They can do this by removing nitrogen atoms from nitrogen oxide or nitrogen dioxide molecules, freeing up oxygen atoms. Once the catalysts have finished the reaction, the nitrogen atoms react with each other, creating nitrogen gas, which is harmless to the environment. The byproducts are nitrogen and oxygen gas. Following the first stage, the second stage involves the metals platinum and palladium, which are both oxidizing reactions. They function to oxidize carbon monoxide and hydrocarbons, turning them both into carbon dioxide and water. These are released into the environment and are harmless since they do not contain nitrogen oxides, which do not cause acid rain or smog. Let's return back to the idea of how catalytic converters get stolen pretty often. Well, A couple years ago, after coming home from a family trip, I remember my dad turning on our car, and after dropping it in a secluded, shady, and low security parking lot, the car became extremely loud immediately after my dad turned on the engine, and it turns out the catalytic converter on our car was stolen. How do we know it was stolen? Well, it was not because of the sound, but the underside of the car, there were incision marks from where the thieves cut out the converter and stole it. At this time, we did not know why the thieves stole it, but after doing some research, I soon found out that it was due to these precious metals that I mentioned previously called palladium, platinum, and rhodium that made it a prime target for thieves. So the purpose of the catalytic converter has remained a curious phenomenon with me, but taking AP chemistry has allowed me to understand the chemistry behind it and the function of the metals within the catalytic converter. This has prompted me to want to create a podcast episode about how harmful emissions are reduced and the chemistry behind catalytic converters. Thank you for listening to this episode of Chemistry Connections. For more student-run podcasts and digital content, make sure you visit www.hvspn.com.